Okay, y'all, so today is the screencast that the majority of you voted you wanted to see instead of a live lecture, and it's the idea about how we're going to modify functions a little bit to be able to save their output as something. And this is kind of an important distinction because so far the functions that we've used have been similar to print, where you call it, you tell the function what to do, and then it just either prints something or calculates something, and it doesn't have a memory, it doesn't save the answer at all. So don't worry about this line. I've defined x to be this group of numbers right there, and it's 1, 5, 17, 23. These are just random numbers. It doesn't really matter the value. Print is kind of a dumb function in that it doesn't remember or store or save anything. So when I come over here and I say print x, it does it. And I call it from the console line, I can say print x and it does what it's told to do. If I tried to save that answer, if I said like y equals print x, it's going to say, well, okay, you said print x, but what is this y business? And if I type in y again, it's going to say, what do you mean? There's no way to save the answer of a print statement. Like it doesn't calculate anything, it doesn't do anything memorable or recordable. Average, though, is a little bit different. I had to import this from a module called NumPy, don't worry about it. If I come over here instead and say, what is the average of all the numbers in x, it's going to say 11.5. And this is true because 1 plus 5 plus 17 plus, what did I say, 23 adds up to 46. 46 divided by the total number is 11.5. So the average of x, by default, will print out its answers. Like when you say, give me the average, it'll just say, okay, here it is. But average can also save the value. If I came over and I said something like y equals average x, now I'm going to be assigning the output of the average function to a variable called y. It doesn't print it this time. This time Python says, oh, he didn't just tell me to do it. He said to do it and to save the answer as y. And what's important about this is now I can come down here and say, what was y? And it's like, 11.5. It saves my answer as a variable. And this is going to be huge. This shows up, this is super important because I'm going to use this a lot. You're going to use this a lot. I'm going to come down, here's my example from last time, and the output of my T1, my time C1 function where it turns time from a decimal back into minutes and stuff, I'm going to want to save that as T so that I'm able to do stuff with T later, right? I've taken all of this right here, all of this business, and all of these steps right there are called time C1. And then I'm going to cast time C1, and I'm going to get a new output of it, a new number called T, and then I'm able to use T later, right here. This would be such a pain if I had to go through and copy and paste all these steps over and over and over again. Down here, 5K, 10K, 5K, half, marathon, I'm going to want to use time C1, and what that function does right now really doesn't matter much to you all, but I'm going to be able to save all those answers as these variables and then mess with them later and print them out later. I don't want to have to type in, that's, oh my gosh, and then type that whole code in there. I want to be able to save the output of my functions as a new variable, and the way that we do that is pretty easy. The way that we do that is by using a function called return, or a statement called return. And so I'm going to define a little function right there that goes like this. Def, let's just call it doubler x. And this thing is just going to double the value of the number. I think I did this for a demo the other day on the last video, but who cares? I'll start by making sure that the answer is an integer and everything. And then what I'm going to do is say answer, or y, or z. I don't really care what you want to call it. Let's just call it y. Sure, why not? Y equals x times 2. Now, if this was a dumb function, if this didn't save what it was supposed to be doing, I would just tell it to print out the answer. But that's not what I want it to do. I don't want it to print the answer, right? I do not want to print the answer. I want to be able to save it. So the way we're going to do this, the very last line that you're going to write in your function says return y. What this is going to say is that I'm able to use this doubler function, and I want you to do all this stuff, and whatever y is, my answer to line 22 right there, it's going to let me save this as something else. So now when I hit play, you guessed it, nothing happened because all I did was teach it how to do it. I can come over here and I can say like, okay, z equals doubler, I don't know, 6. It doesn't print anything. When I say what's z again, it's like, oh, that's 12 because that's the answer. So long story short, if you want to be able to take the output or the result of a function that you've written and you want to be able to do stuff with it later, don't use the print statement inside of here. Use return. This is going to allow you to save it as something else. Now, the y and the x and everything in here, These are what are known as local variables. This is not something that you'll be able to print. In other words, if I come over here and I say doubler3, cool, and then I say, hey, what was y? It's going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. Y is not defined. This variable here, y, this is only like imaginary. Like it lives inside of this function. You won't be able to access what y is. You have to give it a new name after you call the function. And so I could come over here and say, you know, y equals doubler22, and now it knows that y is 44. You could give this any nickname you want, but you won't be able to access these variables unless you make them global. We'll worry about that part later. Moral of the story is return variable allows you to save the output of a function as something, and then you can use that later. So you could also put this function inside of another function. So I could do something like this. I could say doubler length of dog. So the length of dog is 3, and if I were to double that, I should get 6. And sure enough, it works. I could even go through and say like r equals doubler length, oops, that's not supposed to be a quote, length of elephant, and elephant is that 8 letters long, so this should be 16, right? Boom, and now r is 16. So skill check 3 is taking a function that's going to add up the number of letters in a word and another function, a different one, f and g, that counts how long a word is, kind of like this, and it prints it out. All right, good luck.